Welcome to Codex, History of Video Games. My name's Tyler Osby.
And I'm Mike Coletta.
And this week, we continue talking about Kirby with Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. This is a game I am wholly unfamiliar with. So
Dude,
you're going to have to take me through it, Mike.
I'm extremely unfamiliar with this game as well. And honestly, it kind of it wowed me.
It wowed you.
It wowed me. I'm gonna say it's
The World of Warcrafted you?
It World of Warcrafted me. I'm excited to talk about it. So we'll just kind of get it. It's gonna be a shorter episode today, everybody. But next week, I don't know why I keep doing it this way, but I'm like, I swear this episode's fine. But then next week, we are gonna have like a really amazing guest next week, and I'm extremely excited for it. And I'll give you a hint. It's gonna get what's the word? What's the word? It's from academia. We're getting a little academic with it.
Academic, yeah, sure.
Because it's it's going to be a guest that weirdly enough wrote a textbook that I used in college for a video game class, for a rhetoric and video games class, and I'm so excited to have them on. I don't think they realize how much I'm going to geek out, but I'm going to geek out pretty hard.
Do they know? Do they know that you?
I don't think they know. The publicist knows because I emailed them that, but I was like, oh my God, this person wrote this book that I have, and I still have it on my shelf. So I'm like reading their new book that we're going to talk about, and then I'm rereading their old book. It's just a mess. Anyway, let's talk about Kirby. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is our fifth part of the series of Kirby. I don't know how long we're going to go for, but this is Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. We are going to skip Nightmare in Dreamland because that's a remake of Kirby's Adventure. Now, I know we made this mistake before with Superstar. So I am just preempting this by saying, if you're like, hey, Tyler and Mike, you're goofing again, send us an email. Tell us. Because
you've got to do Nightmare in Dreamland.
You got to do Nightmare in Dreamland. Tell us that because, as you know, Tyler and I are not Kirby aficionados. We're kind of learning as we go along. So if we're missing something here and we have to cover the Nightmare in Dreamland, let us know. But otherwise, we're just going to go right into Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. Most of my sources from this game, by the way, actually come from the game's manual. And there's some fun facts about game manuals for GameBoy Advance, and we'll get to that when we get there. But I just want to tease that. So let's first start with the Grime facts. This was actually developed by 3 different developers. We have HAL Laboratory, as always. We have Flagship, and then Dimps is the last. It's DIMPS. I don't know.
Dimps. They made a lot of Sonic games for Game Boy Advance.
Yeah. So that
are highly regarded, I think.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it because they've all kind of split the load in this, I guess, is how I'd put it. And the development section is pretty small, but we do know what each company kind of did. So we'll get into that. But the original release date of this game was October 18th, 2004 in North America. And there's a lot of re-releases of it. We'll get to that. But the original system it was on was Game Boy Advance. This is a GBA game. Okay. And the best way to play right now is actually, and this is how I played, it's on Switch Store. So the Switch emulation for free, not store, Switch Online, free emulation. If you pay for their online subscription, that's how you can play it. Not free, but also
included in subscription though.
Yeah. Also, I think the Switch subscription is still pretty cheap. The online
it's like $20 a year, I think.
Yeah, it was. It's gone up.
It's
gone up. Okay. It's now like $60 a year with the expansion pack.
Oh, that's with the expansion pack. Yeah, I think it was 20 without that because that's like with Nintendo 64. It like gets you some extra stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
and
still,
I think
$60 a year for all that is still pretty reasonable.
Yeah, dude, you can play so many games that way, and so it's totally worth it, I think. But I'm not a shill for Nintendo, I swear. But the number of copies sold are over 1.47 million copies worldwide. This is kind of cool because we're in the Game Boy Advance era. They actually have like legitimate paperwork about like how many copies were sold. So that's the number. We know that.
All right.
It's from sales figures papers by the company. The genre or gameplay style is an action platformer. And the big thing about this one that we're going to kind of get into is, and what I think is going to excite you, this is a Metroidvania.
Oh,
this is a Kirby Metroidvania game, and we'll get into that in a bit. The time to complete is 6 to 8 hours for the main story. I played the game a little bit, but I also watched a long play, and the long play beat it in 2 hours with no edits. So I don't know if they were just like
speed run
flying through or what, but yeah. So you can kind of see it different ways. Metacritic score, it does have a Metacritic score because it's the 2004 game, so it says 80 out of 100. So well received.
So, if you're a Kirby fan, it's a good one. If you're not a Kirby fan, maybe you'll like it.
Yeah, I think if you're a Metroidvania fan, you would like this game in a way, and it's pretty cool, and we'll get into why in a second. But the let's just get into gameplay right away. So it's your standard Kirby fare. You know, you can float in the air and you can swallow up enemies for power-ups, but as I said before, this is the first Kirby game with actual like Metroidvania elements. So the map itself is a maze and it branches into multiple directions, and you can go in almost anywhere, any order you want. The way you go through it and the way they split the paths is each section has a mirror at the end of it, and that's what teleports you to the next section. And sometimes there's multiple mirrors in a level, so you get to choose where to go. So
Are
it's
all the mirrors amazing mirrors, or is there just one amazing mirror?
an amazing mirror. We'll get into that.
Okay, okay.
Are you excited?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Good. You should be. So, you make an amazing mirror. The puzzles involve platforming and interacting with like certain items. And this is just straight from the manual. Like some of the items, like there's these new items called heavy blocks, and you got to do a super inhale to move these items. And you could actually do a bunch of like if multiple Kirby's, which we'll get into the multiple
A
Kirby's,
super inhale.
do a super inhale, then you can move these blocks. There are large switches and small switches. If you press a large switch, a new mirror appears on the map, and if you press a small switch, like you can open a door or something like that. So the large switches are actually to add paths to the progression. There are also cannons, and you can actually jump into a cannon a la Mario 64 style and shoot across the map. And then there's your warp stars that will take you to different places, and you could ride to a specific place. Also on this page of the manual, there are little treasure chests too, but that's not really an item for like traversal or puzzle. It's just like, hey, there's a 1-up in there. Good job, or power up or something. So there are mini bosses found throughout the world. And when you encounter a mini boss, you actually lock the screen and you actually have to fight them. And I know I'm making a comparison to a newer game here, but if you'd have told me there would be a Kirby game that felt in the smallest way like Hollow Knight, I would not have believed you. It's funny because I think a Hollow Knight like has this where you go in and it locks the screen and you have to fight these bosses, right? And obviously completely different mood. And Kirby came in 2004. So if anything, Hollow Knight took this from Kirby. But if you'd have told me there was any comparison between the two, I would have had no idea. And that's just what it reminded me of when I got to my first boss. So also a cool thing about this is when you defeat a boss or a sub boss, the sub bosses, they drop like a copy ability. That's a special one that you can only get that one time.
Okay.
Like
a special copy of
cool power up. Yeah. Isn't that pretty neat? I think it's pretty neat.
So you get to use it until till you replace it with something else?
Yes, exactly. Or you get hit and you lose it. Remember, because sometimes if you get hit, you lose it and your star jumps around and then you have to eat it up again. Or in my case, you eat it up and then spit it out on accident before hitting down. That's my pro move that I do every time. So the items in the game are a little different than the previous Kirby games. Like you still got your like Maxim tomatoes and your 1-ups and your candies that make you invincible. But there are also these things called batteries. And this is a battery for Kirby's cell phone. That's right. Kirby has a mobile phone.
Kirby's moving into the 2000s, into the new millennium. He's getting a cell phone, just like everybody else.
Kirby's got a cell phone. It's 2004. They finally gave him his Sony Ericsson phone, flip phone, brick phone.
2004. That's like prime Razor time.
Oh, a Motorola Razor.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Send us an email. What kind of phone would Kirby have if he had a cell phone? What do you?
What kind of phone did you have in 2004?
I had a Motorola Razor.
Oh, I did not have a phone in 2004.
It had a because that's kind of near the new Star Wars movies time. The prequels.
Yeah. It would have been between 2 and 3.
Yeah, I had Star Wars noises for 3 upcoming.
Oh man, you flipped it open, it was like
it would make TIE fighter noises and stuff.
Ah, cool. What color was it?
It was just silver, just like a silver phone. Yeah, very, very basic, very 2004. So we'll get into what the batteries do in a little bit. But there are also some specialty items that are called collector's items in the game. And one of them is the world map. So you don't start with the world map. So you got to kind of do some exploration to try to find it. If you don't,
very Metroidvania.
Yeah, but you will find it eventually, and then you can be like, oh, okay, that's where I need to go. There's also vitalities, and these are like heart containers, a lot like Zelda, that increase your health
or energy tanks.
Or energy tanks, yeah, exactly. Spray paint allows you to change the color of your Kirby because you start off as the lovable pink fluff ball. He's kind of just like a rubber ball, right?
Yeah. Didn't
What do you
we
think?
talked
What do you
about
think?
this? I feel like there was one episode we talked about what he is because I think Sakurai like said what he is, and it was like it didn't really make very much sense.
What do you think
I'm gonna
Kirby
Google
feels like if you touch
what
Kirby?
is Kirby.
I picture Kirby feeling like a whoopee cushion. Is that weird?
No, that's probably about right.
He's like
And,
a
and he
rubbery
probably
whoopee
makes a
cushion.
similar noise if you just squeeze.
Yeah, that's probably what I think Kirby would feel like. He would probably feel like a giant whoopee cushion, very rubbery.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Not it's unclear what Kirby is.
Hmm. That's interesting. Yeah, no, this is a whole. I mean, we talked about this on the early episode, but there's an entire Polygon unraveled episode about what Kirby is, and it breaks Brian David Gilbert's brain. And I think everyone should watch that because it's very funny. So yeah, those and then those are the items that you can collect. There's one more item too. There's a sound player. That's right. Much like in Metal Gear Solid 4, Kirby's got himself an iPod that
All
he
right.
can use, but they call it just a sound player, and you can use it to listen to different notes and stuff. Um, there are various mini games that you can access. I personally did not try these, but I'm going to still give you a breakdown for each one. So there's one called Speed Eaters. Oh, these are also important to note, multiplayer or single player, because there's multiplayer elements of this Kirby too, which is very exciting. So the instant you see the Speed Eaters is when you see like a little symbol on screen to eat, it's like exclamation points. You got to press the A button to eat the apples, and then you got to fill up Kirby's gauge. So it's kind of like who can press the A button the fastest.
Okay.
But if you eat a bomb, you have to sit out for one round.
So you got to be paying attention.
You got to be paying attention. Exactly.
It's like Hungry Hungry Hippos, but
With Kirby's,
bombs.
yeah. That's a good way to put it, actually. There's also one called Crackety Hack, where you have a limited time to accumulate power. When the Kirby jumps, punch the rocks beneath you. The player who makes the deepest crack in the ground is the winner. So you got to keep like jumping and cracking the ground below you over and over and over again. And then the last one is called Kirby Wave Ride, and you increase your speed by jumping near the crest of each wave. The first player to reach the goal is the winner. I've heard this be compared a lot to Kirby's Air Ride, which is a game that came out that I have not played.
The little picture here almost makes it look like the game Tiny Wings on iOS. Do you remember that game?
Yeah, yeah.
I like that game.
It's probably very similar to Tiny Wings. So the multiplayer features is this. So players use the cell phone batteries to call on their cell phone either CPU controlled Kirby's or real life players into their game. And then you work cooperatively to solve puzzles.
So you gotta link up.
You gotta link up. Yeah, you link up essentially. Isn't that kind of cool?
Yeah.
I think it's like a neat idea for like how to make it work. Like make multiplayer work in this sense. But what's also funny is like it's reminding me of Dark Souls, where someone like comes into your world to help you.
Yeah.
I was like playing this game and then reading the manual about it and learning about it, and I just found there were so many things reminding me of like newer games, and I'm like, are you telling me that Kirby in the Amazing Mirror gave Hollow Knight? Obviously, it's a Metroid thing. It's not a Kirby thing. But I'm like, is this a thing that happened? You know,
Yeah.
I want it to be real.
Is there a Kirby version of the who's the Elden Ring person? Let Me Soloer. They would like come into your game and just like destroy the boss you were on and then leave.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah,
My
it's like a
favorite
Kirby
was
version of that.
my favorite, it was going around TikTok for a while, was the Elden Ring drip inspector. Like he would invade your world and he would look at your outfit and judge you. And if he liked your outfit, he wouldn't kill you. But if he didn't like your outfit, he would kill you.
Oh boy.
And it was a guy whose name was Drip Inspector. And it got to the point where everyone knew who this one person was, and he would invade their world and judge their fashion. So a lot of
people like change. They got to change their clothes real quick.
Yeah,
They're like, oh no, it's a Drip Inspector.
Yeah. A lot of the TikTok clips were people playing, and they'd be like, "You've been invaded by the Drip Inspector," and they're like, "Oh no!" And they'd like switch their menu, and they'd like switch all their gear out to like look really good, and then show off themselves to the person.
That's funny. We need that in Kirby. You change the color of your Kirby to be whichever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With the spray paint.
That's what we need. That's what we're looking for. So
the Kirby Drip Inspector.
That's right. There are new powers in the game, and I'm just going to kind of go over the new powers because all of them are like really good. So there's the first power is called Cupid. It's also called Angel in the Japanese version, and it allows Kirby to fly with wings in a halo while firing arrows. Honestly, it gives me more Kid Icarus vibes than Cupid vibes. And when you see it in the game, you're like, they're going for Pit I feel like they're not going for like Cupid or Angel. I'm wondering if they just did that to kind of like
another Metroidvania style game, Kid Icarus.
Yeah, right. I never played Kid Icarus. Have you played Kid Icarus?
Very little, very little.
Okay, but then the other one, and this is the one that I think is the best, is Missile, where Kirby transforms into a guided missile that explodes on impact or when the B button is pressed. Watching and playing this is so powerful because you can missile straight up, you can missile to the side. So if there's like mirrors you have to get up high to get to, you can just missile up there. It seems very powerful. Then you have Fighter, and this is kind of how it was described in different things. It's like described it as making it like Super Smash Brothers Kirby. I would say it is in the sense that you can use his like punching attacks. And for the first boss, if you get Fighter, oh, by the way, the first boss is a stone version of the tree. So technically different. Watch out, everybody.
Stone tree.
But you can just punch him a bunch. You can just punch him a bunch and knock his health bar down. So I think that's pretty good. Other ones that I didn't list on here, actually, I still think Wheel is like one of the best power-ups in any Kirby game. And this makes me think that at some point we should tier list Kirby power-ups.
I'm on board.
And we could tier list them based on aesthetics too. We don't have to tier list them based on how good they are, although we could do that as well. But that would mean you'd have some homework, Tyler.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I got some Kirby power-ups to learn.
You got to learn the Kirby power-ups. Is what I'm saying. So just be warned. Okay. Also, on a personal note, this has nothing to do with powers, but when Kirby goes underwater in this game, he puts on a little mask and snorkel, and I just find it really cute. And I just wanted to mention it. He looks adorable. He just jumps in the water and he instantly has a mask and snorkel on. And I'm like, what a fun little detail that I think is really silly and it needed to be mentioned. So the plot of this game, I lifted straight from the PDF of the game manual I found on Nintendo's website. And that's my big fact of the episode. Did you know if you go to Nintendo's website, you can find most Game Boy Advanced manuals as PDFs?
Really?
They're archived on the Nintendo website. Yes.
Just GBA? Is there other manuals? It seems
like just GBA. I didn't search for other games, so maybe other ones too, but it was a PDF on the Nintendo website, and I just downloaded the Kirby and the Amazing Mirror one. And I was like, wow, they're doing like self-archiving, which I thought was pretty cool because as we all know, most companies don't really care about that kind of thing, but I think Nintendo's an exception. It might just be Nintendo licensed games too, like specifically Nintendo ones, like first party. But then again, HAL Laboratory is kind of first party for them.
Yeah.
So, but just wanted to give you the fact of the episode. If you're like, I wish I had my manual for this Nintendo game on Game Boy Advance, it's probably on the website. You can download it for free.
I'm gonna go looking for those.
Let's get into this plot. You ready?
Yes.
So it says, the adventure begins. High in the sky above Dreamland is a place called Mirror World. In this strange and beautiful world, the mirrors have the power to make any wishes reflected in them come true. However, not so long ago, the mirrors started to reflect only bad things, and Mirror World began to change for the worse. Once Meta Knight realized what was happening, he immediately set out to rescue Mirror World.
The bad guy?
So this is the thing. So down below in peaceful Dreamland, no one noticed the strange goings on until one fateful day. Like so many days before, Kirby was out enjoying a pleasant stroll when suddenly the familiar shadow of Meta Knight passed overhead, appearing in front of Kirby, wrapped in a strange new jet black cape. Kirby knew that something was wrong. Without warning, Meta Knight attacked Kirby with his sword.
Oh no!
So yeah, what happened next was amazing. The Savage Sword glows.
It's actually written in the manual. What happened next was amazing.
Yep. The Savage Sword blow split Kirby into 4, each a different color. As the jet black Meta Knight flew off into the sky, the 4 Kirbys leaped onto a nearby warp star in hot pursuit, chattering cheerfully to one another. Another great adventure was about to begin. So yeah, it justifies why it's co-op, because we split into 4 Kirbys. And then Meta Knight is a good guy that then gets turned into a bad guy. Because I was kind of curious about Meta Knight because he's in Super Smash Brothers, right? That's kind of where we know him from, I would say.
Yeah, well, and he's been in previous Kirby games as the bad guy.
Yeah, he has been in previous games, but in this case, he wasn't always a bad guy. He's a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But I just thought it was like pleasant because it's a fun little teaser. And yes, it is funny how they say what happened next was amazing in their own manual.
Very clickbait, early clickbait. You'll never believe. 10 things happened after this. You'll never believe number 6.
Yeah.
Uh,
Top 10 Kirby colors.
do you think that Meta Knight meant to split Kirby into 4 separate Kirbys, or he was like, I'm gonna just try to slice Kirby here and maybe get rid of him for good, and then it backfired, and Meta Knight was like, crap, I gotta go,
I
and he flew
think
away.
I think it was the second one, and I also think this means that Kirby is technically a Hydra from Greek
Yeah,
mythology.
yeah.
So that's
Do
what
they
that means.
recombine in the end, or are there just now 4 Kirbys running
I'm
around?
not sure. I didn't want to spoil this game for myself, so I didn't watch
Oh,
the ending because
okay.
I just kind of ran out of time this week to play it all the way through, but I was like so I was like I want to like get some more of it, but I didn't want to spoil it because it is a very fun game. We'll talk about it at my end here when I talk about the game and stuff. So the development of this is really short. There's not a lot by the section is short, not the time for the development. There's just not a lot I could find on it that just seemed legitimate. And we do know that it was a collaboration between HAL Laboratory, Flagship, and a development studio under Capcom. So Flagship is a Capcom owned development studio, which I thought was
Okay.
interesting. And then Flagship essentially did all the planning for the game. Dimps was in charge of programming, design, and sound, and then HAL Laboratory provided artwork and debugging services. So it was
Gotcha.
kind of like a 3-team effort in a
Okay.
sense. And that
That
would
makes
make
sense.
sense why Dimps did this because you said they made a bunch of GBA games, so they have the
Yeah.
experience with GBA development
They had
and
made a
program.
bunch of Sonic games, like side-scrolling Sonic games that people generally liked, that seemed to hold up pretty well against the Genesis originals. Also, uh, this was around the same time Capcom was doing they did a couple Legend of Zelda games. I think they did the Oracle games, and I think it was Capcom that did Minish Cap. I could be wrong about that. But there was like a period of time where Nintendo had given Capcom sort of some of their licensed characters to like make games out of. And I think they generally did an okay job. So this is like right in that era, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of cool then. Yeah, because I feel like it was really well put together. So that kind of leads me right into, like I said, the development section is pretty short, but that leads me kind of like to the legacy portion of this. So per the internet, both Metacritic and just the buzz, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror seem to be pretty well received. It's definitely better than Kirby 64, I would say. But I think it makes sense for Kirby to delve into Metroidvania because like going through the different mirrors to change paths, it not only does it help the story make sense, but it also just feels like Kirby should be a Metroidvania game. Like that should be
Yeah.
a thing. And so in that sense, I think it really succeeded. I personally liked this game a lot. I want to know what people think though, because obviously, I thought Kirby 64 was creative and a cool idea, but now I know it wasn't really received as well by fans. I think this is more in the Kirby vein than say that is for sure, and this should be a Kirby game that people really like. And I just want to know what people think. So if you have memories or strategies or hot takes about this game, you should send us an email at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com, or you can hop on our Discord using the link at codexpodcast.net. But we're just doing this one Kirby game today. We'll probably keep going with Kirby. Maybe there's a couple more we got, but I thought it was cool. Also, it made me sad to realize that Game Boy Advance is like 20 years old. So,
Yeah. More
whew,
than 20 years old.
more
I
than 20
remember
years old.
remember
This
buying
game is
mine.
20 years old. Yeah. So, made me feel like an old man,
Yeah.
Tyler. But with that, what you been playing, Tyler?
This week I've been watching you play Metal Gear. We finished Metal Gear Solid 3,
Oh,
and we
so
are
good.
I know, and we're a
Oh, the
good chunk into Metal Gear
reveal.
Solid 4.
The reveal. The
Yeah.
spoilers. Can we just have a Metal Gear Solid episode where we talk about all the spoilers? We should
Yeah.
probably do that. When I'm done, we should
Yeah.
probably do that. Because the whole time, we joke about this while we're playing the game, but Tyler and I joke about how I'm kind of like going to the movies with your mom and a character appears on the screen and you're like, who's that? And then you're like, we don't know yet. We haven't had it told us yet. I was like doing that to Tyler the whole time. Where I'm like,
Who's this
who's
guy?
the boss? What is this? And you're like, just wait. And so I was a huge fan of 3. I'm very excited for Metal Gear Solid Delta. I'm super stoked to play through that again with modern video game help. Like
Yeah.
quality of life improvements is what I'm really looking for. So, because that game, I mean, even playing 4 now, just leaps and strides ahead of 3 as far as the shooting goes and everything. Still had to get used to it. I think it's kind of weird that you have to hit left trigger to bring your gun up, and then I have to remember to hit triangle to do iron sights and then R1 to fire. But I'm getting better at it.
Yeah, I almost never use iron sights in Metal Gear Solid 4. Like
That's
I
probably
totally forgot you could even do that.
yeah. Honestly, I'm getting better at the CQC stuff in this game too.
That's true. I never did
CQC
any of that either.
CQC in Metal Gear Solid 3, no shot. Didn't do it. Very bad. But CQC in 4 is a lot easier to do. And also the sneaking around, I think, because it's cool in suit in 4. He just goes like invis and he like lays down. He's like,
Yeah, you
yeah.
get the camo, and you
He
can
is-
walk while crouching.
Oh, walking while crouching is huge. That was so weird to me in Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2, how a guy would walk around a corner and then I would just sprint past them, my footsteps being like clack, 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 and they would not turn around. And that was just like, yep, they don't get you. They don't, if you're not in their line of sight, you don't exist.
Yeah, that's
So
true. You are also playing on easy as well, so they get a little bit more.
I was playing on normal on 2, I thought.
No, I think you only went to normal on 3 because that's when you decided
Oh,
the
because I
no
was gonna
kill
do my
run.
kill runs.
You're
That's
like, I'm doing
right.
kill run. Yeah.
Should I play through 1 again on normal just to see the difference, you think?
Yeah, maybe. And
Okay.
you could play the original PlayStation version too, which is missing a lot of quality of life things from Twin Snakes.
Just to make it really, really, really hard on myself.
Yeah, it's worth doing if you like it. It's worth
Dude,
worth
the
playing the
first
OG.
section is the hardest part of the whole game.
Yeah, it really is.
It's so
It's like
hard.
Driver, the part where they're teaching you how to in the parking garage, they're teaching you how to drive the car, and they make you do these like insane things that are actually feel very impossible. I never got past it. Like the first like
Really?
5 minutes of that game, it's like press X to go forward. Okay, if you press square, that's a brake, and also you go backward. Okay, now do this obstacle course real quick and do it in like record time, speed run time.
I loved Driver. I was a big fan of Driver.
Yeah,
That's a game series we should cover,
I
honestly.
would love to. We should talk about those
We
games
should talk
because
about because
I
Driver
want to
was
make
like
it significantly into the story of Driver because they still had the free driving stuff for like 2 cities, even if you never played the story of the first Driver. So that's what I did. I would just go into the free drive, just drive around and like do that stuff and have fun there. But I never made it anywhere in the story.
Driver was like, and I'm going to use this term very loosely, a GTA killer in a way. It was supposed to be
Well,
like
yeah,
the competition to Grand Theft Auto, and it
it
never really panned out.
it did a good job in the first 2 games because that would have been pre GTA 3. So like it was like, oh, this is the 3D version of Grand Theft Auto, which was like pretty neat at the time. But then of course GTA 3 came and blew everything up. But
My brother really liked the Driver games. He's like a car guy though, so that because
yeah,
I feel like Driver was focused more on the car stuff
yeah,
than
yeah.
in that
You're like the
sense.
getaway driver or
Yeah,
whatever.
you couldn't really compare too much. It was more about like driving the actual cars than anything.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we should cover Driver. I love the game series. Also, we got an email in that I haven't read yet because I wanted to get. I try to also if you email the podcast, I try to get permission before I just read your emails on the show because I feel weird not doing that, you know.
Mhm.
But we got an email recently that I'm really excited to read on the podcast because it's pertains to a place I went to recently and I'm going back to soon. So it's very exciting. But it's not in the US either. It's an international email.
Ooh,
So I'm very
exciting.
I'm gonna respond to them today and be like, "Can I read this on the show?" So we'll see what they say. But and you can read it already, Tyler, because you have access to the email. So
Oh, dang,
you
you're
can
just
also
teasing people. I was getting excited.
you can also keep a secret. You can keep a secret.
That's true.
Okay.
Played a lot of Metal Gear. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
secrets.
A lot of secrets. So many twists and turns. I am excited for these new bosses in Metal Gear Solid 4 because we just finished the first act. That's where
Mhm.
Tyler and I are at, and we got 4 more acts to go. So we're on Solid Sun.
Yeah.
And also, I think Liquid Ocelot is ridiculous, and I'm here for it. That's also
Yeah, but he's
true.
so fun.
He's so fun too, and he's like, I just love the idea that you take the arm off of a guy, put it onto another guy, and then that arm slowly takes over that person.
Mhm.
Through sheer force of will.
Yeah,
It's
and changes their voice completely because Ocelot's voice
oh,
changes to Liquid's voice.
it's so anime. I love it. What's funny is I was doing a show last night in Bremerton, Washington. Shout out to Bremerton, Navy Town, and the guy who was filming the show was also playing through Metal Gear Solid. So him and I talked about it a lot, and I would tell him about how we'd always be like, "You're that ninja," or Liquid. And what was the other one? Nano machines? Was it that?
Nanomachines.
Nano machines. Yeah, it's just so good. There's so many quotes and silliness in that game, but I love it so much. I've been playing that with you, Tyler. I've been playing Control, and I've been playing a little bit of the Call of Duty Black Ops 5 campaign still. But I've been doing.
Yeah.
So
I did play a mission of Black Ops 2 the other day. I'm like slowly getting back on my Call of Duty train where I was
you're
playing
slowly
through all
getting
of them.
back on your Call to Duty.
Yeah. I'm being called to duty.
You know what's lame? And we've talked about this. Why hasn't Xbox made it a priority to put all the Call of Duty games on Game Pass? Like,
I
just
don't
put
know.
the campaigns on there. Just put them
I
on
don't know.
there. You can even disable multiplayer. I don't care. I just want to play through the campaigns.
Yep. I don't know,
I'm a
man.
big fan. You know, unless
Well,
unless
I own most of them on Steam, so Steam Brothers.
Steam Brothers. Also, now that I own a PS3, which is right next to me, I'm putting my hand on it because that's the only way that I could play
It is the
Metal
only
Gear Solid
legitimate way to
4.
play Metal Gear Solid 4.
So I bought a PS3 on Facebook Marketplace. I drove 30 minutes away to go pick this up from someone in a parking lot of a grocery store. And then I cleaned it all up. Now that I have a PS3, I could buy some Call of Duty games for it if I wanted to.
You could,
Right
yeah.
there. Yeah.
And they're probably not very expensive.
No, they're really not. And also now I'm a trophy hunter. I'm not an achievements guy anymore. I'm a trophy guy now. So
Yep.
that's what I'm doing. But yeah. So with that though, that's kind of the episode today, a little shorter, but next week I'm very, very excited for our guest. And we got to read that. We're reading that book right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a good one. So stay tuned next week. And then after that, maybe we'll get into some more games. There's some weird game topics I want to talk about. Like I've been really into the idea of talking more about vaporware because I just found out about the Halo DS game that never came out. We were talking about that, and then like that sounds really cool. Maybe we could talk about a couple famous vaporware cases in
stuff that just never materialized.
Yeah, I think that'd be kind of a fun little history thing. And then maybe we could play some weird holiday games. I don't know. We'll have a good time.
Yeah, we should play some weird holiday games. There's like Christmas Nights into Dreams. Do we ever do that?
No,
We
I
should.
don't think we did. There's also a lot of weird Flash games that are saved on that Flash library. You know, what's it called? Blue something, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that saved it all. So we could play those on the podcast too. That'd be really fun. But with that though, I think that's going to do it for the day. You can go ahead and send us an email to codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. You can go to codexpodcast.net. That's got all our links on there. You can watch me go through slowly the Metal Gear Solids on the Trello boards. And with that, Tyler, do you want to say bye to everyone for the day?
Goodbye, everybody.